Well, that's us live. Gavin, many thanks for joining us. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, bit disappointed, obviously, that today had to be called off. But overall, yeah, things are going really well. Thank you.
Have you been, did I see on Facebook you've been busy glamping recently?
I've been away in those. Yeah, we went away into the Lake District in the camper
Oh,
van.
very nice.
We did a duathlon, me and my partner. We did a duathlon at Grasmere.
Yep,
And then we stayed a couple of nights at Ambleside, which was really nice.
yep.
Really lovely. For the weather for the duathlon was horrendous. The roads were flooded, and yeah, not very nice conditions to be riding your bike through the Lake District when it's floods all over the roads. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Enjoyed it. Just literally just sort of for the season starting, it's grab something while you can, because probably won't get one now until October.
Well, you say that, mate, but could we not just do away with this season? I mean, everybody reckons that Redcar are going to win everything, so there's no point in us actually having a season. Just give you the trophies now, surely.
No, mate. Honestly, if
Uh,
Speedway was won on paper, we'd be all right. But we all know how one accident, one something, when riders ride in different leagues in different countries in the world, never ever. Well, you'll never ever get me counting me chickens anyway. It's a long season ahead.
okay, well, I've got a few questions to ask about the Redcar Bears. First of all, how close were you, average-wise, to being able to field the same again team this year as you had last year?
Yeah, to be fair, very very early on, or towards the end of last season, the idea was to have six of the same team,
Yep,
basically. That was the first team we'd wrote down on paper,
yep.
um, and then obviously things happened. Riders decided that they were better off elsewhere, etc. Which is, that at the end of the day, they're professionals, that they're earning a living. So it's, and then by one we had to make changes. Sort of, some of them forced, some of them unforced. But to start with, yeah, we were very close to having, as I say, six of the seven back, basically.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think for Berwick, Casper Anderson proved the year before what a great bonus he was. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't make it into the Berwick team, because he came along and guested for us as well. But I was a bit surprised that you lost Louis and Jordan.
Yeah, both similar sort of circumstances, really. It's no thing that Jordan is a Redcar asset. In every team we tried to build had Jordan in it, but unfortunately, he decided basically that, he rode for Oxford Chargers, I think, which obviously must have been a little
Yes.
bit of a draw to him. And yeah, he decided his season, was going to be at Oxford, which, we wish the kid well. I absolutely love Jordan to bits.
Hmm.
And same as Louis.
Yeah.
Louis decided, that the trip to Redcar was maybe a little bit too far. And basically, yeah, we lost them both to Oxford.
And tell us about your the riders that you bought in then. So well, first of all, who's still in there from last year?
Well, we've still got Charles and Derek
Yep.
as Wahid leaders. We've still got Jason Edwards. Um, and then basically we brought in, well, very, very lucky that Danny King became available. Danny, I still can't believe how Poole let him go, to be fair. They had a sort of a 2 into 3, and they decided that Danny was the one that had to go. We're very, very lucky that we we did a deal with Danny really quickly. He's an ultimate professional, like on and off the track. I speak to him at least a couple of times a week, at least. He's absolutely brilliant, And then we brought in Daniel Hume from Glasgow. Obviously, we retained, as I say, Charles, Eric, and Jason Edwards. And we managed from the under-19s final, which Leon actually won. We had our eyes on Jake Mulford from that onwards. He rode brilliant, and we managed to secure Jade as a 2-point rider. At Leicester with a sort of a number 2 that we needed to score about 4 points, we thought. To be fair, we had marked that position. I'll be honest, that position was Jordan Jenkins. That's what we thought. Sadly, that didn't happen. And we got James Shanes from Birmingham. Unfortunately, James then, he was recovering from a broken arm at the time. It sadly transpires that he's actually got an infection in the metalwork in his arm.
Oh, gee whiz.
Yes, he's still in hospital, I think. He had an operation I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, to have all the metalwork taken out. Some special putty put in with antibiotics, and he's literally got an arm that doesn't fit together at the moment.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, they've left all the metalwork out because they need to get rid of this infection first. So James it's going to be a long road to recovery for James. So just when you think everything's sorted perfectly for the season, you're all of a sudden looking for another rider. As I said to Jamie and Jade, our promoters, I said, we're not looking for a heat leader here. It's not a disaster. We're looking for somebody to score about 4 points a meeting. And luckily, Conor Bailey from Glasgow hadn't been signed by anybody. I spoke to him, and he's been absolutely brilliant. He's come into the team as if he's never been away. He's fantastic to deal with. Such a model professional young lad. Really wants to go far. Has a Conference League place or National Development League place with Workington. So that's really going to bring him along a lot. He's going to be riding regularly. Probably, I would imagine, scoring big points in the Development League. So we hope that's going to sort of build his confidence more. And he'll just fill that little spot at number 2. And to be fair, during the season, I think him and Jason at 6 at the moment, I think they'll probably swap places, maybe a few times, which won't be bad for either of them. A little stint at reserve and then a stint at number 2 will do them quite well.
I must admit, was James Shanes, was he not at Birmingham last
year? Yeah, he was at Birmingham been at Birmingham for 2 or 3 seasons, I believe. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm sure that is he not a bit of a specialist around Isle of Wight?
Well, he's a grass tracker by trade. You know what I mean? He's like he's world class on the grass, European class. Rides in all the big events, and he's never really 100% sort of adapted to the shale as much as people expected. But I just saw with Danny in the team and Charles and a lot of people he can learn off. I really expected that he would have come to Redcar and really flourished. And as I say, we weren't looking for him to become a heat leader. He didn't need to become a heat leader. His job was to score 4 or 5 points a meeting, and I think he would have done that for us comfortably. But as I say, sadly, it wasn't to be. So Conor Bailey's come in, and after last week against Newcastle, started a little bit slowly, but he had 2 brilliant sort of second 2 races were brilliant, and he looks as if he really could do the business for us.
Sure. No, it was just that, as I say, with James Shanes being I believe a bit of a specialist around small meat down at the Isle of Wight. I was looking forward to seeing him around Shielfield, but as we say, you've got Conor Bailey, you've got, as you say, Jake Mulford, who was very impressive at your place for the was it the under-18s or the under-19s? I can't
Under
remember.
under
Under-19.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really, he's well established grass track and long track. He's actually qualified as one of the reserves for the world long track series. So he's well, and Speedway has been a little bit of a byproduct, if that makes sense, for him. But he's only just, I think he's 18 stroke 19. So this season he's got the Rising Star spot at Bellevue, which can only do him the power of good as well.
Yeah.
And obviously with ourselves, there is zero pressure on him with us. He just needs to learn his trade. He's really green. You can tell when you speak to him, etc. He's really, really green, but he wants to learn. And Charles has really taken him under his wing already at Bellevue. And he says, like, literally the kid just wants to learn, and give him sort of 3 or 4 months, and I genuinely believe he'll be absolutely flying.
Absolutely. So, looking ahead to obviously the weekend, the meeting tonight cancelled, but hopefully Berwick tomorrow night. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage? The fact that Sunday might be the second leg. How do you view it?
Yeah, I was asked this by our social media people today as well, and like we will really take each match exactly the same as it would have been anyway. We will go to Berwick, and as Berwick, I'm sure will come to Redcar to try and win. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, although probably having the second leg is seen as a bit of a small advantage, if anything. You guess you're supposed to be stronger at home than away, aren't you? But to be fair, our lads are coming to Shieldfield tomorrow, whether that had been the first leg or the second leg, to try and win. That's what you try and do. Well, with it being the first leg now, I guess there's no tactical substitutes in the knockout cup or anything anyway, so you haven't got damage limitations or anything like that. So no, I don't really think it makes a big difference. At the end of the day, I would love to be sitting there on Sunday night and have won both legs, but I'm sure Gary's says the same thing. I don't think it gives you that much of an advantage. I guess Berwick could say, well, if they hammer in a big score tomorrow in the first leg, it gives them an advantage. So, it's swings and roundabouts, I think,
Yeah, I was just reminded of I don't dare I say it. I'm not the biggest Monarchs fan in the world, but I remember last season they only won by 4 against Glasgow in the first leg at Powder Hall. Then went to Ashfield and only lost by 2. So they actually beat Glasgow over the 2 legs. So it just goes to show that even if you get up like just a 4-point advantage, it can sort of make a difference, can't it? I suppose it's just a case of it's both teams on the night, how they perform.
It is, and I think if you go to the away leg first and win, I think that then does become a big advantage.
Yeah.
That then gives you a big advantage for the home leg afterwards. But as I say, you can go to the away leg first and get a trouncing, and all of a sudden the home team from the first leg tails are up, and the second leg becomes a bit of a disadvantage. So as I say, I think there's pluses and minuses for both, and it doesn't make any difference to me whether we, as I say, had got today on, which obviously the way the weather has been was the 100% the correct call, or we had been the second leg. It doesn't really make any difference.
Sure. Who's the captain of your team? Is it still Charles?
Yeah, Charles is still captain. Yeah, Charles is there. He's been there a lot of seasons now, and yeah, Charles is a club captain. But I think Charles will even admit that Danny King, like Danny's captain of Ipswich, who, when you're captain of Jason Doyle and Emil Saifudjanov, you obviously listen to what Danny says as well,
Well,
You can't.
I was going to say, have you not noticed the modern trend? You get your youngest rider in the team, Leon Flint, who is the local hero, to be your skipper. You choose
Yeah.
somebody that was born this millennium, not a
Mhm.
thousand years previously.
Do you know what it is? I've dealt with Leon. He guested for us last
Yes.
year, and you know what it is. If he was in our team, he would be close to being captain as well because he is an absolute. He's the one who goes to the crowd. He's the one who talks to the riders all the time. You know what I mean? He's got
Yeah.
time for everybody. And when he was appointed by the captain, I can 100% agree that with the decision. Leon he's a special young lad. He is.
Yeah. But how do you think that that's going to work with Leon being the captain and his old man being the team manager?
Next question. I've got to be careful. I've got to go. I've got to come up your place tomorrow. Look, I don't. To be absolutely genuine honest, I don't know what type of sort of relationship they have. Some father and sons fight like cat and dog. Some father and sons get on brilliantly. Do you know what I mean? I've never really sort of witnessed firsthand how Gavin and Leon get on. It wouldn't be. See, I haven't got horror stories about them arguing and fighting, but I also haven't got other stories. I know when Leon was riding in the Grand Prix and that you couldn't have got a prouder person than his dad.
Yes.
It was absolutely fantastic. But I cannot answer that question, and that's genuine. I'm not sitting on the fence. I promise. I just don't know. But some father and sons work together forever, don't they? And some father and sons just can't get along. So it just depends.
Sure, I'm just reminded of the recent rugby where Ireland won the Grand Slam and the Six Nations with Andy Farrell as the coach, and
That's right.
and obviously you've got Owen Farrell as the captain of England, and apparently there's only about 16 years of an age gap, and so for Owen, his dad is more of an older brother than his dad, and. I don't know if there's a little bit of that there. I don't know. I've seen them as you say, sort of at Berwick, and there's a great bond there. As there often is in in Speedway, you tend to get these family ties where we've got a lot of Courtneys involved.
Yes,
At Berwick,
Mhm. Yeah, I think of it. Well, Tony as well. Grandad Flint as well is an absolutely fantastic fella. He's a fantastic fella as well. Do you know what I mean? And he's always there or thereabouts. And I think like Berwick Speedway without the Flints just wouldn't be the same, would it?
Yeah, no. Now, tell me about obviously here at Berwick we've got riders that are riding. Well, I think I think apart from Jai, everybody else in the Berwick team is riding for another team in a different league, whether it be higher or lower. I think I've got that right, haven't I? Sorry, Jonas and Jai. Sorry, I keep getting a whole lot of crackling, but do you hear that?
No, I'm getting.
No,
I'm
that's
fine.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I was going to say, how do you find it? Because I think again for Redcar, you've got a lot of riders that are riding in either the higher league. I think most of them are in the higher league, aren't they? Or they've got
We've got six in the higher league and one riding in the lower league, as well as two of them. Three of them riding in Poland.
Yeah.
So it's do you know what it is as a team manager? It's a nightmare. It's just trying to keep track, and then you see, if you're looking on the Speedway update and you see a fella excluded next to one of their names, your heart misses a beat, and it's like And then if you get a fella excluded, I keep making this story. If you get a fella excluded in a dash, which means they've missed the next race, all of a sudden panic sets in, because you just don't know what's going on. You haven't got the live stream or whatever it may be. And we've got three lads at Ipswich, two lads at Bellevue, and then we've got Jason, who's at Kings Lynn, and then we've got Connor. As I say, Connor's the only one who's sort of doubling down, as it was, and he's at Workington. So it's hard as a team manager to sort of A, keep up with when they're riding, but B, as I say, just to keep abreast of what's happening. As I say, we've like Eric rides in Poland as well, and Jason and Connor both are going to be riding in the Polish under-24 league. So you just keep your fingers crossed. You know how much of a dangerous sport it is, and injuries are part and parcel of it. And I think that's where you get a bit of luck. I think Poole last season went from the first match to the last match with exactly the same 7 riders.
Wow.
That's not an injury all season, and that's a little bit of luck that you need. Yes, you need a good team. Yes, you need, but you also do need in Speedway a little bit of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the other thing is that in the same way that you've got your machines that sometimes they prefer, they work better at some tracks than others, and maybe trying to get the riders to perform at their peak all of the time. It must be quite difficult as a team manager, because if they're riding in a higher league, it's like, are they going to try that bit harder when they're in that league as opposed to when they're riding for you? Or if like the Berwick riders, when they're riding in the higher league, will they sort of aim to peak, if you like, for the main team that they ride for, and the second team maybe not so? Is that something that you have to be aware of and watch out for?
No, I don't think so, Paul. I think the thing is, at the end of the day, they're all self-employed Speedway riders. Do you know what I mean? So if they don't perform, they don't get paid.
True.
So, but I also think that's a team manager's job and a club's job to make the place of work where they come somewhere where they want to perform.
Yes.
And I think at Redcar we're very, very lucky to have like a fantastic atmosphere, fantastic backroom staff. And I don't think for 1 second, like Danny King, who will be riding on a Thursday with Jason Doyle, Emil Saifudjanov, and whatever else, he's not going to give Ipswich any more than when he comes to Redcar and what he gives us. I think that they're model professionals, and they give every. I think it works in a positive way. To be fair, I think racing against the best in the world can only spur you on, and then when you come to the championship, which is slightly lesser league, let's say, I think it works in our favour. To be fair.
Sure. So I mean, certainly with some of the foreign stars, let's call them foreign stars, we've got obviously Dan Bewley, as you mentioned, Scott Nichols' sparring partner. What's his name again? Oh, I'm Emil Saifudjanov.
Yeah, he's at Ipswich, yeah.
Jason Doyle, and I suppose it's like finally we're starting to see the gap opening up again between the top 2 divisions, because for me last year, that what was the point of having 2 different divisions? Basically, there didn't seem to be much of a gap, did there?
No, there was only the odd rider, wasn't there? There was sort of James Powell, your Kurt and a couple of others, Jack Horner. But there wasn't many in the season with sort of Nicky Pedersen, Emerton, Parr, Saifudjanov. And then there's a few more Bewley back in there now. But it needs to, the stepping stone from the development league to the championship is such a big step. People really, really struggle to make that jump. Whereas the step between, as you say, the Championship and the Premier League isn't very big at all. So all three steps need to be evened out a little bit, in my view. And I know a lot of people are sort of questioning the idea of allowing, sort of the Australian in the development league, but it actually, although they might have taken one or two spots of other people's rides, it will strengthen that league. And I'm going to use, I'm not sort of picking on the ladder, I'm going to use Harry McGurk as a massive thing. He rode for Bellevue last year in the Colts and rode brilliantly, really coming along. And then he got a chance at Plymouth and he found the going massively tough. And that's because the step between the development league and the championship is so big, and we need the steps to be leveled out between the three leagues. And as you rightly say that the step between the championship and the Premier League needs to get bigger, and basically we need eventually to get rid of doubling up somehow, and I haven't got a magic wand, and I know riders need to earn a living, etc. But until the sport gets rid, or at least half or three-quarter changes the doubling up rule, you'll not get credibility with a lot of people, because you're watching, just say Danny, you watch Danny on a Thursday night riding for Ipswich, and then you come to watch Redcar on a Friday and he's riding for us. You try telling that to somebody who doesn't know about Speedway, and it's not quite understood,
I think it's one of the nice things about Speedway is that you do end up with riders, for example, guesting for a team. 1 week you could be booing a rider, that a fortnight later he could be guesting for your team, and you're cheering him. And I do enjoy that kind of dichotomy between the sort of booing him and the adulation. But as far as the the explaining Speedway to other people, I don't really find that a problem. It's more the fact, come along, see what they're doing. It doesn't matter which team you're cheering. Just go to a Speedway meeting and see those four riders at the table. Forget about what colours they've got on. Just enjoy the spectacle of four riders going at it like hammer and tongs. It doesn't matter whether it's your rider or the opposition that ends up winning. If sometimes you it's just great Speedway, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt, it is. But the other thing is as well, Paul, it's a team sport, right? I'm all for team Kevlars. I think there's no other team sport where you wear different, apart from the Barbarians where they would wear different coloured shorts and socks.
Yes.
Everybody in team sports wears the same kit.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Then you can sort of see who's who. The other thing that really gets to me, and Berwick have absolutely done it, is a team sport that relies on scores so much, and nobody has a scoreboard. Berwick and Redcar are going to have this season. We've actually put it in place, and we're going. It doesn't have to be anything flash. Berwick's is perfect. It tells you the score of the meeting. You're watching two teams. You're watching Berwick v Redcar, Berwick v whoever. And if you don't, just say you turn up as a newbie to Speedway, and you've got your little kid with you, and you come through the door, and you see them going around at the beginning, and then the racing starts, and little Bobby goes like, Dad, can I have a burger, please? Or can I have a pie, Dad? So after you go to thing, you come back and you're like, right, who's winning? Oh, I've lost interest because I don't know what's happening. And you might not be, enough to ask the guy next to you who's filling that program in. You probably don't even know what a program is to start with, And I just think Berwick scoreboard, where you can look up and see which team is winning, is an absolute godsend. I just can't believe a sport where the score is so important to a meeting that we've never really had scoreboards. You go to a football match and normally you get 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1. They have a scoreboard.
Yeah.
Right? You go to ice hockey, they have a scoreboard. You go to basketball. You go to Crown Green Bowls, on a Saturday afternoon, right? And two little old biddies, bless them, are playing ball. They've got a little scoreboard behind them so people know how they're doing.
Yeah,
Speedway.
I mean, obviously, the one big one would be cricket. The only
Yeah.
problem with the one at Berwick is it keeps showing that Redcar have got more than Berwick. That's the big problem. It's faulty.
Don't count. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. We're there tomorrow,
Okay.
please. Please don't.
Okay.
I'm touching me wooden tape. I'm touching me wooden table here. Jade has
Yeah.
actually already put us under the pressure because Jade has managed against Berwick, I think 4 or 5, if not 7 times, and he's won
Right.
every time. So yeah, I don't want that type of talk. Thank you.
Okay. So moving swiftly on then. Moving
Yeah.
swiftly on, just to allay any fears of Jade. Who of the current Berwick team do you envisage as being the ones that are going to cause the most amount of difficulty for the Bears?
I honestly, I look at the Berwick team and there's people in the Speedway Star and stuff say are going to finish third, bottom, second, bottom, whatever. I look at that Berwick side and you know what it is. There is not a weak link amongst them. On the day, you know, I've seen Nathan Stoneman come to Redcar and really mix it with the best of them.
Yeah.
We went to Scunthorpe. Connor Coles was guessing for Scunthorpe, and I think he got about 7 or 8 points that night.
Yeah.
So honestly, I am not taking one of the Berwick riders for granted lightly. That's all I've seen. Jonas, if Jonas makes a gate, is as fast as anybody. Thomas, I love Thomas. Just one of the nicest characters in Speedway. You know, Jorgens is absolutely fantastic. Leon, we all know what Leon's like. As I say, I've sponsored him for 2 or 3 seasons now or whatever. You know, I genuinely believe, and I'm not just saying it because obviously you're from Berwick, but I believe they're definitely underrated, and I think they're going to cause a few shocks this season. I just hope and pray and touch me table again that it's not this weekend. That's all.
Yeah, I mean it's so difficult, isn't it, to get genuine averages for riders based on, for example, last year's results when there was only 10 teams and that there was only a limited number of matches. I mean, I remember in the early noughties, Peter Waite's era, a time when there was 19 teams in the old, I think it was called the National League back then, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
but 19 teams. It seemed to me like the averages would be a bit more accurate, and at the moment it's you're looking at averages and you're thinking well that's fine on paper, but it's how are they going to perform against other riders and for me, the one big problem is that you've got a 25% chance of winning the race. You've got a 25% chance of scoring nothing, and it just seems a bit inaccurate, shall we say? There's
Well,
lies, damn lies, and statistics, aren't there?
yeah, I don't quite sort of, and I know why they've done it, but it's the rolling average type thing. You know, it's the good old days. You just had your green sheet average, which was how many points you'd scored divided by 4. That was your average, simple as. Do you know what I mean? But now when it's going like rolling 10 matches and rolling 5 and 8 matches and whatever else, it just gets a little bit more complicated, and it's a little bit harder to work out. But speed has always been about averages, hasn't it? You know, let's be fair.
Yes.
From the 70s when I used to, Tom Owen, obviously I was like a big Newcastle fan.
Sure.
Tom Owen had a 10-point average, I think, for 9 seasons or something.
Wow.
That's just, you would never get anywhere near that. But it's always, Speedway's always tried to make such a simple sport complicated, hasn't it? Ever since I went to my first match, I think my mum says I was 6 weeks old, the first Speedway match I went to, and they just try and complicate it every year,
Yep. So okay, if we put the Redcar and Berwick team to one side, of the other teams in the league, Which are the ones that you sort of like the looks of as being, well, that's a tasty looking team? There's a couple that come to my mind, but I'll let you go. Well, actually, do you want to go first? Scunthorpe and Plymouth look really quite tasty, but I suppose you could argue Oxford as well.
Yeah, I think Scunthorpe definitely at home will be a force to be reckoned with. And on the road, if Palm Toft can get back to some sort of form, and because he was injured a lot of last season,
Yes.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think with Ryan Douglas, they'll have Scunthorpe will have a really good side. They're struggling at the moment. They've lost Zane Kennedy's
Yes.
got an injury back in Australia, mountain biking, I believe. So they're trying to fill that spot at the moment. But I get you with Plymouth. Have got a very good top end. They've got an untried, let's say, bottom end. Sort of Ben Trigger. Trigger's still really young. Hasn't really done it on the national development stage yet. But at the end of the day, there's quite a number of teams who've got 2-point reserves in now. So, he's not the only one. There's a lot of 2-pointers around. But to be fair, Oxford again, you say they've got a very strong top three, but then, they've got quite I wouldn't call it a tail because I don't like using that word, you know what I mean? But they've got 2-point reserves. I just kind of get past Poole. I know what Poole are like. Now Poole have gone the opposite way. Their two reserves are like Adam Roynan and Kyle Newman, who are, both way into their 30s. I hope that they won't mind us saying it, you know what I mean? But we had both of them last year at certain points, and Kyle was fantastic for us. Absolutely the model professional. And, brilliant to deal with, fantastic working. But yeah, they've got, I kind of look past Poole,
Well, okay. I suppose we must mention the ever the bridesmaids, never the bride, Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow are relying on a couple of riders who have done it in the past. If those riders can regain past form, Glasgow will be right up there, and Glasgow would be probably anyway in my top three. But they're like Klaus Wissen on a 5-point average. Now you're only on a 5-point average because that's what you averaged. Do you know what I mean? So these people, when you say it's a false average, well, it's not actually false because that's what he was averaging. But we all know that Klaus, on his day, can easily be a sort of 7-point average man. And the other one, I guess, that they're gambling on a little bit is Lee Complin. Because, Complin's had one season back in the sport now. And I listened to one of his podcasts and stuff, and he seems to really have the fire in his belly. So if Complin can regain sort of past score, and I'm not saying become a heat leader again, but if he becomes a solid sort of 4.5, 5-point man, then Glasgow will certainly be, you know what I mean, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, getting back to your point about Klaus Vissing. I really like Klaus Vissing. I liked when he rode for Berwick. I remember chatting with him last year. He started off at Birmingham, and I suppose, as you say, starting on a 5-point average, it seems very low. But then Berwick went down that similar route of having, dare I say, Theo and Ricky Rells coming in on low averages, and I think that over the course of the season they maintained their averages, but we really needed a bit more than just riders that would maintain the average. We wanted them to improve. So if as you say, Klaus can up his average, that's going to be good for them. The one unknown is the is it Marcin Novak?
Yes,
the Polish rider.
I think what I can remember, he was very good round Glasgow.
Yeah.
Not so good away from home. Like quite a lot of these Polish, when he comes to Plymouth and these little tracks, technical tracks like Armadale, he has a little bit of a different, a little bit of a different style for getting around them. But again, if he can learn how to get around the tighter technical tracks again, you know what I mean? Because I think at Glasgow they're going to be absolutely fine. Glasgow is quite a big, wide, open circuit. Getting into ride, the tight technical tracks might be a little bit more difficult. But as I say, if Klaus can come, the other one Berwick had last year was Ty Proctor. You know what I mean? Like when we lost James Shanes, he was one of the names that we could fit in. And you think Ty Proctor at Redcar a few years ago was a 7.5, 8 point. But then he's not on a 4-point average because it's a false average. That's the average he's on. And you got to weigh this up, and it's always a little bit of a gamble. Some of them do bounce back. We could be sitting here on this podcast in 5 months' time, and Klaus Wissen could be Glasgow's number 2 with an 8-point average. But we could also still be sitting on about a 5, and you'd be saying, well, he wasn't really, in on a steal, was he? It's a gamble, and it's a gamble that Glasgow have taken,
Yeah, I mean, getting back to your point about Lee Complin and Ace Piper at reserve. I was all last season. I was touting the fact that next season for Berwick, not long into our season, injuries decimated us. Can you remember Leon Flint actually was out for a couple of weeks, so shaking hands with Theo Piper.
Yeah, I remember very well.
Bizarre, And I remember for several months then touting the fact that surely we must go with 6 and 7 Complin Piper. Complin Piper. And lo and behold, that's what Glasgow have gone and done. Have they, have they been listening to my rants?
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what went on, but I'm sure. I'm sure Gary in the Courtneys would have loved to have signed, Ace. I don't, obviously, as I say, I don't have any information on what happened and why he ended up at Glasgow. I don't know. But I'm sure he would have been on Berwick's radar to have him in the team. As I say, a bit like myself, some you win, some you lose, some you want. But unfortunately, circumstances will say take them in different ways.
Yeah. I suppose begrudgingly we must mention the fact that often they are not touted as being the top teams, but begrudgingly they always seem to get there. The Monarchs.
I like Edinburgh. I like everywhere. To be honest, there's no team.
I know you like everywhere.
I've never fallen out with anybody yet, so there's always a bit. But okay. I think Edinburgh, for what they do, you know what I mean. They just seem to make teams every season that are competitive. Do you know what I mean? And like, I bet you they haven't got the biggest budget in the league. I bet you they don't pay the biggest wages. But do you know what it is? John Campbell, and I really do get on with, and I really do think that on whatever budget they've got, they always seem to build a decent team, and they come out with these right. And I tell you what, the thing I love about Edinburgh, and I would love to think that in my Redcar reign that we can become similar, is that they're so loyal to riders. They give riders time. They don't just get rid of them. You Jacob Hook and Eric Fredrickson. If they had been if they had been a team A, B, and C, let's say, I'm not going to mention it, they would have been out on the rear. They would have been changed. They would have been this and that. But Edinburgh are fantastic for looking after that. And to be fair, like Pickering, is it been a bit of a slow burner the first couple? You know what I mean? But they're stuck by everything. And now look what they've got. You know what I mean? They've got a genuine league number 1. And I'll always admire Edinburgh, and I'm hoping Redcar, we have been pretty much so similar, is that you just stick by these guys. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you can't win. Not everybody can win the league, and I just feel some teams just make changes for change's sake because we've got half a point of an average to play with. So out goes Bob, who's riding to his average, probably riding above his average, but because there's a little bit more left in the tank, as it was, we'll replace him and we'll put somebody in with a little bit of a higher average. And Edinburgh don't do that. So I've got all the admiration for Edinburgh. I have,
Sure. Final question, because can't believe it. That's 45 minutes already. It seems like we just started chatting 5 minutes ago. In a sort of straw poll that we had at the beginning of beginning of February in the Black and Gold, I asked several esteemed guests who were going to finish as the top 2 average riders for Berwick. And believe it or not, 3 of us went for Leon and Jonas. And we were told that would be nice. That would be really nice, particularly if Rory and TJ maintain near their average. But if Leon and Jonas can really push on, who would be the 2 that you see at the end of the season as being the top 2 bears?
The top 2 bears. Well, we've got it's a 2 out of 3. We've got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really split. The 3 of them are so close together, average-wise. Eric, Danny, and Charles. Mm-hmm. At the moment, Danny's actually a number 1, although he's not, because obviously we got the 2.5% reduction off Danny's average, which brought him 0.02 or something under Eric's. So really, in actual averages, Danny should be number 1, closely followed by Eric. But last year we had Charles with a shoulder injury. He's had the operation, and he started the season really well with Bellevue and stuff. So, but if I had to stick my neck on the line, I kind of will say, nah. I don't. To be honest, Paul, do you know this? I don't mind if the three of them are on 8.5 point averages or something. That would be enough for me to any 2 of the 3 would be no problem at all. I'd love somebody else to come up. To be fair. Daniel or somebody, Daniel or Connor or somebody else to get up there. But it's probably, to be fair, two out of those 3, either Danny, Eric, or Charles.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you mentioned a moment ago about about Edinburgh, and they stay with some riders that are slow burners. I suppose with likes of Leon and Jonas, you want them to sort of get to the top really quickly, but then you don't want them to sort of tail off. Do you? You want to see that progress year in, year out. So that would be my main. I suppose I was being a bit sort of optimistic in saying that it would be great if Rory and.
Yeah, if Jonas can get up from his 5 point average up to, because I think Thomas and Rory will both be high 7s at least. Do you know what I mean? That at least. So if you think Jonas can get up to a high 7, you're going to have a fantastic season. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're going to have 4 riders in high 7s or 8s, which Leon's quite capable of as well. And then that all bodes very well for the rest. Jai will still be on a 6 something, so there you go. That's strength and depth. And then all of a sudden you don't need that out and out number 1. If you've got 4 riders, 7+ averages, you know what I mean? You're laughing, aren't you?
Well, it was. I suppose we, as Berwick fans, we were spoilt in '91 with having Richard Knight, Calvin Tatum, and Jimmy Nielsen. But 2 years previously, we had Mark and Blackie. Both were 10-point averages in the league. But the other bizarre thing, of course, was I suppose it was over 16 heats. But it's like having 2 riders on that much of an average, and nowadays to win a meeting you need 46 points. But every year the teams are always made up. Is it 42 points? Is the limit at the moment?
It's 40 points this limit, 40 points this season. But what you got to think of is, you're 45, but that's including heat 15, isn't it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So you've got those points to take off, really. You know what I mean? So you would go on 14 heats as it was, because everybody has a fifth ride in heat 15. But yeah, so it would work out at, like, I think it's 42.5 or 42, something like that would be the actual that you would build it to. You wouldn't build it to 45 as such, you know. But and then don't forget the British riders get 2.5% off their averages as well. So we've got 6 British riders this year, because they've all got 2.5% off their average. So it means our team average, actually, as I say, Danny should really be number 1, but because we got a 2.5% reduction, it meant Eric, who's our only foreign rider, is actually number 1 statistically. But Danny last year had the highest average.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I mean, it's let's hope that tomorrow we get some speedway at Berwick. I don't suppose you'll be near the third bend having a pint of Stella with me, but I will drink a toast to.
I was going to say, I'll see if I can get across. I've got to come up in the morning. Well, afternoon. I've got 72 Berwick tyres in the back of my van here. So if I don't get up, you don't have any speedway because the tyres are in my van. But yeah, I'll hopefully get round and see you sometime tomorrow, Paul. Anyway, I'll certainly see you for some of the Bullets matches, because I'm looking forward to just coming up as a fan, standing on the back straight, as you say, the third bend, with me program, filling me program in, no stress, no nothing, and watching. As I say, you've got Josh Embleton and Archie Freeman, two riders this year who I'm really close to. I've sponsored them both for years. So I'm really looking forward to just coming up, paying me £10 or whatever it is to get in and just being a fan. I love the Berwick back straight on a nice summer's night. And as you say, I'll have a pint of Stella with you that night, no problem.
I was going to say, you enjoy the back straight at Berwick, apart from the fact that there's some nutter in some bizarre coloured shirt. No, but yeah, I'll certainly be donning me bullets hat or whatever for the Bullets matches, because as I say, I'm really looking forward to watching Archie and Josh each week. That's brilliant, you know. Well, you know, at this point, we normally wish, like, riders good luck and all that kind of stuff, but I suppose luck does have a certain amount to do with it, but I've always maintained that, you know, if you put the work in and, you know, you're ready for it and you go out and do your stuff, luck will take care of itself. So roll on tomorrow. You know, obviously we don't want any Jai Etheridge off in the first bend of his first race and stuff like that. But let's hope we have a really good meeting, assuming the weather stays. And, you know, assuming you don't sort of do anything to the tyres for the Berwick rods. And anyway, sorry.
Brilliant, Paul. Thanks a million. Been great chatting to you. And as I say, good luck to Berwick, and apart from obviously this weekend. But you know, I get on well with Gary. I get on well with the Courtneys, and as I say, I'll be a Bullets fan this year without doubt.
Well, I mean, I would have to say that, you know, if it's not going to be Berwick, I would rather a northern team take all the trophies this year than one of those southern teams. So if not Berwick, then you know, if it turns out that it comes to the north of England, that wouldn't be a hardship for me, I can assure you.
Brilliant, Paul. Thanks very much, mate. That's appreciated.
Okay. Cheers, Gavin, and thank you very much. Sorry to keep you so long. Go and have a nice beer and enjoy your glamping somewhere.
I will do, mate. You take care, and I'll speak to you very soon. Okay.
Cheers, Gav.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye for now.